All right, we're live. Hopefully, we'll get some people watching here in a second. And I will go ahead and.
What time does Cezine run today? Do you know?
It's gonna be right in the middle of our sequence, towards the end. I think it's about 45 minutes from now he runs.
Excellent. Well, we can talk about that puppy live then.
That we can. Let me get this pushed out. And awesome. We're ready. You ready?
Let's do it.
Cool. We're going 3, 2. What's up, everybody? I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
And this is the Magic Mike Show. We're back for another live show. We are looking at Gulfstream Park. Last Monday, you got to see how the sausage is made when we do a recap show and talk about what we learned. This is when it gets really interesting because this is when Mike and I usually tend to get in fights that you don't really see because I edit those out. But we're going to go at it live here streaming. Talking about some Gulfstream, Mr. Samich, how are you today?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. We've yet to have one of those where I'm like 40% here because I'm watching horse racing in the background. So we'll have a little bit of that a little later today. Well, I think it's like 75% of the way through the show. We're probably going to run into Cezine running over at Los Al. So, you'll get to see me watching TV and trying to like half listening to Magic and then just repeating exactly what Magic says on accident, which happens, about 20% of the time. So, it'll be a fun little new wrinkle for the people watching as well. But I'm excited, man. I love doing these Pick 4 shows. Excited to get this Gulfstream going. It's a unique one because we're covering 2 7-furlong races for 3-year-olds, one for the girls, one for the boys. And you see some horses that kind of came off the Triple Crown Trail. They're kind of falling into these spots. And so it creates some interesting handicapping angles for us.
Yeah, it's and we didn't get, I think because of the weird COVID schedule, right? We didn't get to see enough of the former Kentucky Derby trail runners cutting back to 7 furlongs, which we were hoping for when we initially talked about doing this. But we'll have to see what we can do. Before we get into it, if you're watching live, thank you for joining us. You can leave a comment whether you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. If you leave a comment, we'll see it. So right here, we just got this comment here from Sean. Let's go, baby. Before we get into it, Mike, what's the best thing you saw this week?
Oh man, well, I kind of been back and forth between a couple different things. But I'm going to land on Cam Newton going to New England. I think it's it's made me excited about football again. I don't really care that Cam Newton's going to New England, but the fact that there's a transaction that's making me excited about football again is the best thing I saw. Because I cannot wait to have sports back. You got the NHL players returning on July 10th for training camps. We got the NBA going down to Florida as long as they don't screw it up for us. So I'm pumped up about sports being back. I am a huge live sports guy, and I've really missed it. I've talked about it a couple times on here, but to actually see a transaction like that where it starts to make you think, okay, how is Belichick going to try and use Newton? Is he going to use him as mainly a running back, a 4th and 1 kind of guy? Like, how is he going to rely on him for throwing? Kind of throws that monkey wrench into how good Stidham is as well. So there's a bunch of different questions that you get to start asking yourself about it, which is what I love about sports, particularly the NFL. So I'm excited to get that going and kind of get those juices flowing one more time.
Well, and I know you're a Colin Cowherd guy, kind of like I am. And Colin's whole conspiracy theory this week has been that this was probably going to happen either way, but they pulled the trigger when they did because about 15 minutes before the news broke about them signing Newton, the news broke that they were getting fined $1 million and losing a 3rd-round draft pick because they were videotaping people when they weren't supposed to, which is not the first time we've heard about that with the Patriots.
Nope.
And nobody's talking about it. What did you just talk about? You didn't say the best thing you saw is that the Patriots lost a 3rd-round draft pick, which is like gold to Belichick. No, it's that they signed Cam Newton. And I think, it's a very Patriots thing to do, but to me, it makes a lot of sense. Give it a shot, see what happens. Because he's not paying him a whole lot. So if it works out, great. And if not, you're going to get Trevor Lawrence in the draft next year.
Yeah, they got him super cheap. It's like $1 million plus incentives can go to 7.5. And you say like a 3rd-round pick is gold to him. Man, they're like, it's surprising how badly they actually have drafted the last couple of years. And a lot of it is 1st and 2nd-round picks, but the Patriots haven't had a good draft in a while, man. Like, and they've been trying to figure out how to put weapons around Brady, and that just kind of failed. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. But I would love to see them lose that division and actually just tank out. That would be absolutely incredible to see that. But then they'd end up with Trevor Lawrence, and then it would suck for the next 20 years. So maybe that's something I should not be rooting for as a Dolphins fan.
Well, I was going to say, as a Lions fan, I shouldn't want that. You and I talked about this before last season started, that you wanted Tua, you got him. I wanted Trevor Lawrence. I'm like, don't screw this up for me. So I like the news because it means that maybe they actually aren't going to tank super. I don't expect them to do that well. Cam Newton doesn't have a receiver or a tight end to throw to, but we'll see. It could be. It's going to make for interesting conversation, right? It's not just that the Patriots don't have Brady. It's now they've got Cam Newton, who was scorned by the team that drafted him 1st overall. So it's going to get pretty interesting out in the NFL, and we're talking about the NFL.
Yeah, if anyone has a chip on their shoulder right now, it's Cam Newton. That guy's got to be pissed off with how everything went. I mean, he's got to be ticked. So he should be playing at 150% if he can.
Well, the best thing that I saw is that today is actually the 40th anniversary of the funniest movie ever made. It is Airplane. I'm already loving having the producer controls here, as you can tell.
I can't believe it.
I'm actually having more fun producing this than talking. So if you want to talk the whole show, I'll just sit here and play with the controls. No, and if you're listening to the podcast version of this, I put up the Airplane logo in the background. This is why you got to watch live, because just crazy shit happens.
True story.
This is
just crazy shit right here.
Not always great things. Airplane to me is I'm not joking. To me, this is the funniest movie ever made. And to be the greatest of something and for a movie, I think one of the big determining factors is rewatchability. You have to see this movie multiple times, because the first time you watch Airplane as an adult, you laugh through half the jokes. I mean, if you didn't like a joke or you missed a joke, get ready, because 3 seconds later there's another one coming. So I really love Airplane a lot. I started watching it before we jumped on it about an hour ago, and I was like, I can't, because all I'm going to want to do is finish the Airplane movie and not have to talk about horse racing, and it would have delayed the whole live show. So you haven't seen Airplane in a while, though, have you?
No, it's been a minute. It's probably been like 5 or 6 years. Like the Airplane takeaways I remember is like the blow up doll in the cockpit. I think that happens toward the end. And just the endless, like, you just get bombarded with jokes in that movie. Like you said, it's just one after the other after the other. I think there probably isn't 2 lines of dialogue that go by without a joke coming at you. So it's definitely one of those laugh hard movies. I would also bet I could name like 5 other movies that you like because you like Airplane.
Go for it.
Princess Bride. Right. Princess Bride has to be high on the list because of Airplane. It's very similar. Monty Python's got to be up there because you like Airplane. I mean, those are 2 off the top of my head. So maybe 2. I can name 2 for sure. But those are like the same style of comedy, you know.
Yep. Well, and it's I was trying to explain it to my wife, because it's also the same reason why I love Cheers, and specifically the character Coach that's in the early seasons of Cheers, because he takes everything literally. And so because of that, you can make so many jokes, any kind of a metaphor or an allusion to something. No, they make it completely about that. And a lot of it's dumb humor. But if you really dive deep into, I could do a whole podcast about Airplane. If you really dive deep into how they wrote it, they actually, because of sometimes it being such a dumb comedy, is what makes it smart. Mm-hmm. And then the smartest thing that they ever did is that they wrote a comedy, they hired a bunch of dramatic actors and said, play it like it's a drama. And that just adds to the humor, because these people are really serious about what they're talking about, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Also, back then in 1980, when this movie came out, there was only a PG rating and an R rating. So if you were a teenage boy who got a hold of a copy of a PG Airplane, and you're like, well, you can tell your parents if they're not smart enough, oh, it's a PG movie. A lot of naked women in that. This movie would never be PG if it came out right now. So if you say that, because if you have younger children, maybe don't show them Airplane until they're a little older.
And now I have to rewatch for sure. Let's just fire this up. Let's cancel the podcast. Let's go. Let's watch some Airplane.
Well, all right. We'll make this real quick, and then we'll go watch Airplane. It is available, by the way, on Netflix and on Amazon Prime. So if you have a subscription to either one of those, you can stream it right now as soon as you get done watching or listening to the Magic Mike Show. On today's show, like it says in the description, we are looking at the late Pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, July 4th, Independence Day, which really doesn't feel like Independence Day to me. Does it feel like Independence Day to you? It's coming up on Saturday?
No, not at all.
Yeah. So
I mean, I could elaborate, but no.
The only thing that makes it that seem remotely like Independence Day is the fact that you have the Met Mile card at Belmont Park for the Star Stripes Festival. That's really it. That's the only thing that makes this thing seem like it's going to be July 4th. But we're going to try and get you some fireworks in your bankroll. You ready, Mike?
Let's do it.
Riders up. All right, kicking off the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, July 4th, we have the $75,000 Azalea Stakes. You got a field of 6 3-year-old fillies going 7 furlongs on the main track. Favoritism is on the number 6 all the way outside. Born, I think is how we're going to pronounce this one. She's 6-5 on the morning line. She's going to be my single here. I really did look at the 2 Estilo Talentoso, but there's just so much to like about Born, and I wanted to go deeper in some other legs. Where are you going here?
Yeah, I mean, I look at these 3-year-old races, and a lot of times I want to try and find an angle to get around the favorite. This is just one of those spots where I think it's really, really tough to. Born, the 6 horse, not only is a pretty obvious lone speed in my mind. She's going a little bit further, going 7 furlongs. She's been going 6.5. So you do have that extra half furlong to worry about. And she was run down last time by a horse named Up in Smoke. Well, Up in Smoke is going to be up in Belmont running in grade stakes on Saturday, while Born is here facing another 75K field. So I don't think it's such a bad thing to get run down by Up in Smoke. Everyone has at this point. I think she's undefeated sprinting. So I think that Born is a tough horse to get around. I'm going to play 2 tickets. I'm going to play a 50-cent ticket. I'm going to play a $5 ticket. I'm going to single up Born in the $5 ticket. I am going to try and get a little creative in the 50-cent side. I do think you might see some pace pressure from Don't Get Cozy right to the inside. And if you do, as well as possibly compensate the 4-horse, if both of those are able to get at the horse a little bit more, I think that the 2-horse could sit a really nice trip here. It's the 2-horse Estilo Talentioso has been on the lead the last 2 races, but those are both at a mile. If you go back to when she was running 6.5 and 7 furlongs, it was at Tampa and Gulfstream. She was sitting in about 3 lengths off the lead in all those races. I think that's kind of the trip that you're going to want to sit here and where you could really have some good luck. The 7 furlongs hits her right between the eyes. Specifically, last time she ran 7 furlongs at Gulfstream was a career best by her 79. She lost to 4 Graces, but 4 Graces is actually a pretty good horse down there. So there's not too much I think you can take away from that loss. I do like the fact that the Camacho's coming back on this horse after a nice win last time out. I don't think that she needs the slop. I realize that she kind of took a step forward there, but to me, that wasn't that big of an issue. So the other thing I think is important is that the race 2 back, which people are going to point to as the reason why not to use her, she had blinkers on that day. That's the only race she's run with blinkers. That's why I think you saw that regression there. And additionally, the last 2 she's faced 4-year-olds. It's 3-year-olds and up. So she's faced older horses. She's going back to 3-year-olds again today. I think that's going to be another advantage for her. So I'm going to take a swing with going 2-6 in the 50-cent ticket, but I don't see any reason going any deeper than that here.
Yeah, and you brought up all the points about why I was considering using her in this spot. I actually, I'm not going to give them out in this show, but I did make 2 tickets when I handicap because there's a 50% chance of rain right before the sequence starts as we record this. And if it ends up being a sloppy or an off track, I'm going to switch things up. I'm going to put her on here because of how well she ran in the slop. She proved that she could handle it very well. And that 7 furlong effort at Gulfstream Park back on March 1st, I mean, that was, like you said, 4 Graces is a really good horse that beat her there. And she got a career best 79 by her. Out of that sloppy effort, when she won, I was impressed that she came back and did a really sharp 4 furlong work in 48 seconds. That's her only work that's recorded in between. But the fact that the slop didn't take anything out of her, I thought was pretty key as well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with there. I do think you're going to see some money go to the 3 Adeline as well. One of the reasons I'm not playing this horse is it's kind of, in my mind, covered. I don't see that horse being able to flip the script essentially on the 6. And so I don't think you should use 2 bullets, one on the 3, one on the 6. I think you either just single up the 6 or you try and find someone who's kind of a quote unquote, we've talked about this new shooter, right? Who's coming in that can kind of upset the apple cart. And to me, the most likely is the 2. The 5 would be the other one that if you really want to get creative, I think you could look at the 5. But I think that the 6 is a pretty solid single here.
We'll move on to the second leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, July 4th. Race 10 on the card. You've got a field of 12 males, 4 and up, plus 2 also eligibles, plus 2 main track only entries. Going a mile on the turf course, assuming it stays on. Favoritism is on the 9-horse, 24-7 at 5-2. Mike, I went 6 deep here. A big reason I went 6 deep because like I singled earlier, and this is when it gets a little messy when you get to these 12-5 claimers. Especially on the turf, this is usually where you shine. So take the lead here. Yeah,
mess is definitely a good way to put this race. I mean, there is a lot of different directions you can go. I'm going to land on a 10-1 shot as my top pick, the 5-horse Farley. This horse, I think, if you look back through its career, it consistently runs some pretty big numbers on the turf course. At Life's Gulfstream, 3 for 11, going over the Gulfstream turf. I think this 1 mile distance is also what Farley wants. If you look, it's run 14 times at a mile. 3 of those are wins, also 2 seconds and a third. And if you look back to scratch out the last. First off, it was going up in class, and it was on a good turf. But if you go back before that, you see an 83 buyer going a mile over Gulfstream. That would definitely be awfully tough here. The race before that is another one I'm going to cross out, specifically because they went 21-4, 45-3. This horse was only 2 lengths off that lead. I'm looking for more of a closing style effort or a stalking style effort, something like she did last year on July 5th. Yeah, maybe, where this horse was essentially just behind the lead, about 2 lengths off at the half-mile pole, ended up winning by a nose at 8-1. The back class fits for this horse. We're getting back down. We're actually going to the lowest level this horse has ever been at in 12-5 claimers. So for me, I think Farley makes a ton of sense. It has multiple back buyers that fit at 10-1, and Prado, I think, is also a nice fit for this horse specifically. I didn't see a ton of speed in here, at least controlling speed in my mind. I thought there was some cheaper speed, but that kind of sent me out to the 7-horse Sir Samus. Camacho picks up the mount here. The one concern I have is Jaramillo leaves this horse, but this is a 4-year-old by Handsome Mike who's improving later in its life. I feel like you can see that improvement over the last 4 races, specifically since this horse got into Carlos David's barn. The 80 effort last time out, the 81 2 back, going a mile and a mile and 16th at this level or a little bit higher are both efforts that probably win this race. And I feel like this is a pretty strong horse. It's a pretty good horse. There's a pretty good chance of being in the lead when they turn for home. So in my mind, I'm setting myself up here with one of the best starters and then the best closer in my mind, and one that could really jump up at a price. I ended up 5 deep here as well. Did you use the 5 and the 7?
I use a 7. 7 was, I had 3 must uses. That's how I felt about this field. The 7 is one of my 3 must uses. You mentioned Jaramillo jumping off, but that, like, I'm with you. That doesn't concern me. First of all, Camacho is a really great rider. Mm-hmm. He's not as aggressive as Jaramillo, but that's fine because he's not on a speed horse here. Jaramillo is riding the 4 horse, who not a must use, but I did use. Jaramillo has ridden 90 times for this barn in the last year and a half. He hardly ever rides for Carlos David, so I wouldn't read too much into him jumping off, just because he has a allegiance to the Juan Alvarado barn. I didn't use the 5 at all. And a big reason is because if you look at his history, he always needs one off the bench. If you look back, on April 11th, he won. But when he was, less than 4-1 the race before that in his big return, he ran like shit. If you go back to 2017, when he came back from a layoff, ran like shit, then broke his maiden next out. You look back in 2016 when he debuted, ran like shit, missed by a nose in his second start. So I'm not trusting that he's going to be able to return off the bench here. And by the way, those 2017, 2016 marks were with Doug O'Neill, who was much better than Antonio Sanoa's current trainer with horses coming off the layoff. So I'm taking a total stand against just because I think he needs one off the layoff. Did that concern you at all when you were handicapping?
Did you watch the race on February 29th?
No.
He got cut off in the stretch. He didn't have any. He got up to about a length and a half, 2 lengths off the lead, and just had nowhere to go. So if you look at the running line, it kind of gives it away a little bit. Where he got close, and then he ended up like 4 or 5 lengths. He just ran into a wall of horses. And when you have a closer trying to run into a wall of horses, and you have that 21 pace that's coming back into your face, it makes it almost impossible if you don't have room to be able to fire in any way, shape, or form. And so that's the other reason I think that buyer was low. I agree with you that off the layoff isn't ideal, but this is also a shorter layoff. We're not talking about, a 6, 7, 8 month layoff. We're talking about running a Gulfstream in March, April, and then coming back here in July. So it didn't concern me as much. And, when I'm going 5 deep, this is the type of horse that I'm looking for. It's someone where I can point to multiple races, 3 or 4 races in the back class that they have buyers that are good enough to win, that has tactical speed or can come from deep. And that's exactly what Farley has with Prado, who has been very good at getting bigger prices home at Gulfstream.
All right. You didn't convince me to add him, but you at least defended him. Okay.
I'm not using your 4, so it's fine.
All right. So, I'll talk about him real quick. Roddick, the 4 horse. If you look back 3 races back, because last time he touched turf, Jaramillo was aboard. He got the win for a 12-5. He was facing non-winners of 3 lifetime, so I was a little worried about that. But then in the slop, his next race was open 12-5 claimers, which is what this is. Got the job done again. So I think with Jaramillo aboard, especially, he's shown the ability to set the pace if he wants to, whether it be on turf or dirt. So I think he fits here. Juan Alvarado is a pretty good trainer. He's 18% right now. He and Jaramillo team up to be 29% at the current meet. So good angles there. I want to talk about the 2 and the 3, both to his inside. 20-1 on both of those horses, and they're both making my ticket because I think something wacky is going to happen in this race, and I want to try and get those 20-1 shots home if I can. I don't understand the 2 honest to goodness is 20-1 morning line. Maybe you can help me here, because if you scratch out the last 2, those were on dirt. Didn't like the dirt. Before that, mile and 16th on the turf. All right, definitely the allowance race, that was too much. But you go back to a mile on turf, 81 buyer, 85 buyer, won both of those races. So at a mile on turf, this horse is actually 4 for 9, and then 4 for 15 overall on the turf. So right there, it's telling you this is what this horse likes to do. If I get 20-1, I'm going to love honest to goodness. And then I also liked Boyd Crowder. This horse hasn't run on turf since August of last year. I don't understand why. This horse got claimed out of a turf race, and then they just kept running him on dirt. But in that race, was sat close to the pace, ended up getting the job done. It was against state bred. He's a Pennsylvania bred, but it was going slightly over a mile on turf. So, at a price, why not? His makes a little more sense. Why he's 20-1. Why is the 2 20-1, Mike?
Well, 2's 20-1 because Tampa's turf form hasn't been holding well. pretty much anywhere.
Oh, well,
So,
shit.
yeah, you could talk me into the 3 more than the 2. The 2 for me is one of those horses where I'm going to let the Tampa turf form. And this horse was running against worse at Tampa, 3 back and lost. And when it's worse at Tampa, and then on top of that, it's Tampa, it kind of makes you take a step back and wonder how good the horse is. I agree with you. Successful over the distance, has buyers that fit if it can run back to 1 or 2 of those races. But you have a trainer who is over here, although it's only 5 mounts, does have a second and 2/3. So the horses are showing up and is 21%. But the jockey is 0 for 26 right now at Gulfstream. And in this type of race where you're going to need to make a trip, especially from coming off the pace, it's not one that I want to use on the turf because you're asking too much of a jockey that hasn't been able to score yet, and it's coming from a weaker subset of turf horses. The 3 horse, I think you could make an argument for because you have seen that talent on the turf. That was for the Jamie Ness barn, actually got claimed out of that race that you were talking about. And I would have Ness as a slightly higher trainer than Taylor here, but I do like Rodriguez on some type of prices, and I think the pace setup should be good for this horse. This horse should be up close or on the lead, which is how I think you could pull an upset here if you're able to. If the 3 could be inside speed, and if the 3 is inside speed, it could get the lead and wire the field, and that's how I think the 3 is dangerous more than anything else, especially if it is able to take a step forward on the turf. But there just isn't enough turf for him, and you do have 4 turf races. The Tomlinson's only 293, so I took a pass on the 3, but I wouldn't talk you off the 3 at 20-1. The 2 I think is going to have a little too much to do, and I don't think is the best use here. But the 3 I definitely wouldn't talk you off if you like it.
Well, I appreciate that. You talked about 2. You've got 3 left. Go for it.
Yeah, all right. So let's go not all the way, but let's go to the 10 hole here and talk about American Ninja a little bit. See, American Ninja is the 15-1 that I thought made absolutely no sense. Joseph Taylor also putting this horse out, so we're going back to the train that you were talking about. We got 15-1. If you look back at those Gulfstream races, he's consistent. I mean, this horse is running high 80s or high 70s, low 80s time and time again. And in this case, I feel like we're getting an upgrade from a barn perspective. Only a 5% trainer up to a 16% trainer. Manese stays up through the process here, and this horse has consistently run well. And then just kind of got in some traffic trouble or just missed a couple times. If you look at the win back when it won on the February 20th, that was at a mile. This horse seems to be successful at a mile. Has won once at the distance, has a second place as well in 6 efforts, likes the Gulfstream turf, 3 wins and 14 starts. And this just is the level that this horse fits really well at. And I liked having the consistent horse that fits well, that can stalk or come from a little bit further back. The 10 post isn't something I love, but with the 15-1 price here, I do think that horse is a good use horse. I'm going to use the 9 defensively. This is one of those that I don't really like, but I don't really want this horse to knock me off. It scares the crap out of me that you had the 85 buyers, and this is June of 2019, running 85 buyers at 50 optional. And it comes back at 16 claiming level for Gargan and gets claimed by Safi Joseph, comes back and runs an 81, but doesn't take that big Safi bump that you often see off the claim. And now we're running at a lower level than what it was claimed at. That just, to me, is scary. And also the 5 horse beat this horse last time out. And I'm getting 10-1 there, and I'm getting 5-2 here. And I'm also getting Zayas here, who I'm not a huge fan of on the favorites. I mean, I'll take swings with the price, but he's not someone I want to lean on the favorite. The other horse I'm going to use is the 6 horse, Filbo. Hector Barrios is one of my favorite long shot jockeys at Gulfstream Park right now because has as much talent as the top tier guys and often has bigger prices. I like the fact that we're adding blinkers onto this horse. I think this horse is just a little too far back. You don't have a bunch of blinkers on efforts. You don't have any on the card here. But if you look at what this horse has been doing through its 5-year-old season and up to its 6-year-old season, it kind of has a nice little pattern of those high 70s. And I just feel like someone's going to trip out coming from the back, and whoever trips out is going to win. So I'm looking for closers that are able to run in those high 70s, low 80s numbers. And then I feel like if anyone wins on the front, it's going to be the 7. So I feel like Sir Samus has me covered up front, and then I'm looking for prices to trip out from the back. I think the 6 horse fits that bill pretty well.
Are you concerned at all because they're getting the 2-pound weight allowance to save $2,000 if somebody wanted to claim this horse? Are you worried about that at all or no?
No, they claimed it for 10. So, I mean, they're still not losing money in that sense. And this horse is consistently cashed too. I mean, if you look at it doesn't have any wins since the claim, but it has a second, a third, and 3/4, which are all cashing paychecks at least. So, because the horse is cash paychecks, and if they win this race, they get the 10,000 back plus the winner's purse. To me, that's not really a big deal. And I think that they get a solid jockey here, and adding blinkers, all of that adds up to a horse that I want to have on my ticket at 15-1.
We're going to have just about every horse in this race covered it with our sequence here because I didn't use those ones. The last one that I used, my final must use, is the 11 Hot and Heavy. I did use the 9 like you did, didn't love it, but I'm like, same reason as you said, I don't want this horse to knock me out of here. I'm going to use the 11 because last out on June 13th, pretty recently, Open 12-5, 81 buyer, got the win race, is going to ride back. 5-1 I thought was a pretty fair price, especially I think a lot of money is going to go to Safi and Edgar Zayas on the 9 horse. He also almost won at 12-5 going him on the 16th. He got caught late. I think that cutting back to a mile he showed last time out is what he likes to do. And the fact that he was fighting the entire way of the stretch in both of those when he lost and when he won shows me if this horse gets in a fight, he's going to be ready to really lay it down. The only concern is the 11 post, but if he likes to sit up close, so if Reyes can get him to break well and sit, a little bit behind the early pace setters and sit 2-3 wide, preferably 2 wide into that clubhouse turn, I think he's got a shot. But you didn't use him, did you?
Yeah, it was the combination of Reyes and the post. I mean, that's what absolutely killed it for me. If you look at the race that he won last time, he was coming out of the 6 hole. The race before that, coming out of the 3 hole. Those are massive advantages versus the 11 post here. If a couple scratch out from the inside, especially if it's speed, that will help this horse. But for a horse that is not going to go to the lead, so you're not going to guarantee he's going to fire out there, and wants to stalk. I see a lot of that type of horse in this race. I think 5 or 6 wide is a possibility in that first turn. And I don't see any way this horse makes to the rail by the start of the second turn, because you're not going to have that runoff leader by 5 or 6 in this spot. I think it's going to be a fairly bunched field. So I think you're not only going to have to go 3 wide first turn, you're going to go 2 or 3 wide second turn too. And when you combine both of those, it's just not what I want in a horse that I think needs to recreate a career best effort to be able to be competitive.
Fair enough. We'll move on to the third leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, July 4th. The male version of the Azalea. This is the $75,000 carryback stakes. Field of 6 3-year-old males going 7 furlongs on the main track. Favoritism is on the number 5. Double Crown at 2-1. He is my only must use, but I went 3 deep here because I think you can make a couple of really good arguments for other horses. And spoiler alert, you and I are in full agreement in this race. So kick things off.
Full agreement. I didn't use the 5.
You told me that you used the 5. All right, fine. See, this is why we don't do this stuff live. Go ahead.
No, give me the 2. Give me Cajun Brother, man. When Yates and Vasquez team up, they seem to get horses home. I'm talking about a 29% clip at Gulfstream, 30% overall. This is the first example I can give of a horse that's getting back to what it's good at. We had a maiden special weight. The horse goes 6 furlongs. It's impressive. Runs a 73 buyer first time out. Comes back 6 furlongs, state bred, 3 and up. Notice the 3 and up too, and blows the field away. Goes wire to wire there, runs a huge race really with 22 and 4, 46, comes home in 111, goes back and tries a mile. That didn't work out so well. And notice who beat it too. It dueled with Casino Grande, that first Grande or whatever the heck you want to call the horse, the first half mile. The horse so I don't care that it finished 16 back. The first half mile is what mattered to me. And that's that this horse dueled with a very good horse and then was put away.
I was just going to say, because if people don't know, Casino Grande is a very well-regarded 3-year-old for Shug McGahee. So that's why it's important that he did that. And then Edge of Fire was just in a big race earlier today at Belmont Park, who finished 3rd.
Yep, exactly. So clearly the quality of that race was solid. So I think that going back to 7 furlongs is what this horse wants to do. It wants to be going 6, wants to be going 7. A mile is too much for it, especially against that caliber. I don't think there's anyone that's as good as Casino Grande in this race. So I think this is a drop in class in a lot of ways for Cajun Brother, where a lot of other horses are kind of taking a step up. To me, this is your speed of the speed too. And when you're at Gulfstream and I can get the speed of the speed and I can get a 5-1 price, I'm definitely interested in that. So Cajun Brother is going to be my must use and my top pick here. I am going to go 2 deep in the 50-cent ticket though. Tell me why you like this 5 horse.
I looked back. You're right. We had. I agree with both of your horses. The 5. Shut up. The 5. So I mean, I don't get what's not to like about the 5, other than maybe the short price, because this horse already has won a stakes race, the 6.5 furlong Roar. Dug in pretty well, beat Greenlight Go, who's a graded stakes winner at Saratoga last year. I know he hasn't returned that well, but he also beat With a Verve, the 6 horse, who both of you and I are using in this spot. The buyers have got a 77, was with Lacey Gaudette when he broke his maiden, and then it comes down to Gulfstream Park. Doesn't win over the slot, but runs really well. Taurus is aboard for the 3rd straight time, and he showed in the stakes race that he doesn't. That he doesn't need the this. Sorry, I completely brain farted. He doesn't need the weight allowance. That's what it is. God, couldn't think of that stupid word. Doesn't need the weight allowance here, and this is why we don't do this stuff live. I don't see what you don't like about this horse.
2 issues. First off, Catherine Vito has 2 in here. If she scratches one or the other, I will be more interested in one or the other. But I don't love the fact that both the 3 and the 5 are in here. 4, they ran together last time, and the 5 horse did win. But I don't like these races when you see 2 from the same trainer. I generally will move away from it if I'm not using both. And since I'm not using the 3, that makes me move away from the 5. Secondly, you talked about that weight difference. Well, you talked about the weight allowance. With Verb was carrying 123 last time. Double Crown was carrying 119. We're going to 122, 122 this time. So you're seeing a 4-pound weight swing. That was also over 6.5 furlongs. We're going 7 this time. The 6 horse is going to appreciate that distance more, where I think the 5 horse may dislike it. So I think we're going from a more advantageous distance for the 5 to a more advantageous distance toward the 6, and we're taking a 4-pound weight shift while doing it. So because of that, I'll take the 3-1 on the 6 on the outside versus the 2-1 on Double Crown, especially since Kathy Ravito is putting 2 in this race, both for Reeve Thoroughbred Racing too. So when you have trainer and owner both putting 2 into a spot, that kind of raises a red flag. Now, you could kind of say this is the only 75K stakes race for 3-year-olds, so it's really the only place that both of them fit. That's a logical argument. But to me, if I'm going to use one, I'm going to use both. If I'm going to use both, I'm hitting the all button here, and I didn't want to hit the all button here.
That's fair. With your playing style, that's fair. Let's talk about why we like with Verve. She's got a win at the distance, or he has a win at the distance. We talk about how it's 7 furlongs a little tricky. It was against State Breds, but Prado was in the saddle at time and did well. I'm willing to forgive that last effort because that was against Sole Volante and Ete Indian and Chivalry. If you don't remember, that race was just one gigantic mess from start to finish.
Effort either.
No, I mean, he tried. He just wasn't able to close. But these are Triple Crown Trail horses that he was facing there. Chivalry is going to be in the Kentucky Derby. Sole Volante and Ete Indian are probably going to be there as well. So I don't see why. This is a class drop. Even though you're going from allowance to stakes race, this is a class drop compared to what he's facing a lot of time. And we both love Quinteros as a Florida sire. So that's why I like with Verve. What about you?
Yeah, I think the mile was a bad distance for it too. If you look at the rest of the card, the mile just wasn't. He faced Ete Indian last time running a mile as well. This horse doesn't want to do a mile. If you go back 3, this with Verve actually beat Chivalry in the 100K Hutchinson. So, I mean, this horse has beaten some very good horses. I think this trip is going to set up very well. I think there is quite a bit of speed in here. So I think that the 6 could end up tripping out. And so that's one of the main reasons why I like the 6. I think the 2 is the speed of the speed. But I think you're going to get pressure from the 1 or the 3. And if you do, you could even get some pressure from the 4. If you do, I think that the 6 and the 5 are going to end up the 2 horses that are kind of coming. And I like the 6 more than the 5 because of the weight change and the additional distance. So for me, the 6 is the one that trips out here and makes a ton of sense from that perspective. I think the 2 might be the speed of the speed, which is awfully dangerous, 7 furlongs at Gulfstream. And because of that, those are the 2 that I want to use.
We'll move on to the 4th and final leg of the late pick 4 sequence at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, July 4th, race 12. You got a field of 9 maiden 3-year-old males going a mile on the main track in for a $25,000 tag. Favoritism is on the number 3, Curlingo at 5-2. And this is a really interesting horse because this was a $900,000 purchase, an intact son of Curlin. Ran like shit on his debut, and they drop him straight from maiden special weight in for a $25,000 tag. Mike, you got $25,000 to go buy a son of Curlin right now?
Oh, not for this horse, man. Hey, this is interesting. Maybe you just buy him and send him to stud. See if you can get your 25K back that way. Because that, this is a really well-bred horse. And he's out of a Graham Hall mare too. So it's not like there's a shabby downside either. I mean, it's interesting. And I'm a Pharaoh was in that race. It was actually a pretty good race. 3rd place horse came back to win. So you could say it took something out of it. This is my last. I'm using 5 here because I can afford to. And this is my last horse in. I mean, this is one of those drops where you're like, really? Really? Already? Like, you're not even going to have a second race at the maiden special weight level? We're just going to give up on $900,000? I mean, I wish I could. The Eclipse Thoroughbreds. Just toss me some of that cheddar and I'll spend it better than that. Man, the 9 horse to me was the top pick. Chili Hayes all the way on the outside. This is an interesting one. The last 3 races, I'm almost going to draw a line through because they were over sloppy, and good track. The good track was the best effort. This horse clearly isn't a huge fan of the off track. I'm kind of scared to claim or to play a horse claimed off Safi Joseph, but if I'm going to use Victor Barboza, who's 53% first off the claim. Additionally, I kind of like Jaramillo on this horse. And I like the fact that this horse ran really poorly at the 50K level with Jaramillo, and he still wants to come back and ride it. And we're going up from the 16 claim all the way up to the 25 level. All of those to me are positives. This horse has the back numbers that would blow this field away. I mean, if we improve at all off the 66 that he ran earlier this year, the 60, then this horse is going to be the one to beat. So for me, I like the 9 on top. I'm going to go to the 2 as my second pick. 2 horses, Dr. Samadhi. This is the second time out. This is the same level. we're getting a jockey switch that I don't love. I don't love that Jaramillo is leaving and Hernandez is coming, but this was the only horse I saw that really wanted to close. Last time at 6 furlongs at this distance, this horse made up some ground late, made up almost 7 furlongs late, going from 8th down to 2nd, and he was just straight up outrun early. They went 22-1, 45-2 in that race. You're not going to see anything near those fractions in this spot. I think that the 2 is going to get a better, more not a better trip, but it's going to be more closer to the pace and more engaged in the race. I think that could set up well for him to be able to close. Additionally, Jorge Abreu's 18% second start. So we'll take a shot with the 2. Dr. Samadi is the other must use.
Yeah, Bray's had a little bit of an odd start to the year, but he's only 4 for 48 as at least when I got the PPs downloaded. But yeah, I'm with you. You nailed the 2 horses that I was going to use on top. I use Curlingo defensively just because, I mean, you don't want a $900,000 horse dropping a 25K to knock you out. You don't want to buy that horse because something's wrong, but I also don't want that horse to beat me if I can afford to do it. I went 6 deep. You went 5. I'm going to go 6 deep. And I'll just go off the rail in order. I'll start with the rail horse, Light Fury. I'm willing to forgive both of those last 2 efforts. Really bad trips, getting bumped and knocked around.
You okay with the third effort back? Sweet 5 buyer.
Yeah, well, that one that was not good. I'm using Chili Haze that's on top with you, so that's that was also made in 50. You know, we're dropping made in 25 now, made in 16. Made in 20 level for here. I'm sorry, he's in for the $20,000 tag. This was the last horse that came on my ticket, but along with Curlingo, but at the same time, if you forgive those 2 efforts, maybe in miles what this horse wants to do, they keep trying to enter him in for a mile. Vasquez, can you just keep your feet in the damn irons this time? Like, I know the horse got hit, but how hard was it that you just completely lost the irons? Breaking from the rail, only one horse can hit him now. So, he's not going to get hit from both sides. So watch, we're going to have one of those Bayern starts where there's like 5 horses come down and knock everybody out. I used the 5 winner at Bastogne is how I'm going to pronounce that one. Is a Son of Violence, which first of all, we love on the show. You're getting a huge jockey upgrade, in my opinion. I'm not someone who watches Gulfstream, so you could probably chime in better about you talked last race about how much you like Barrios. Samuel Camacho to me is a pretty good upgrade here. Got 4th last out after trying to push and press the pace. The horse that got 2nd, Super Highway, came back and won, and this horse was stuck on the inside. If he can be on the outside fighting for speed, I think that sets him up better. Also, that 62 buyer going a mile on dirt for the first time since his debut, that's by far a career best. So I liked winner at Bastogne. I'm guessing you probably didn't use the 1, but did you use the 5?
I did. I'm shocked. That's Bastogne. Bastogne, really? That's yeah, maybe. Yeah. Okay, I'll go with it. I think Barrios and Camacho are a lateral move, so that to me wasn't a big factor. But I didn't see any speed in here. That to me was. And we always talk about being at the $25,000, $20,000 maiden claiming level. You just want the horse in front sometimes. And I think that very well could be the 5 horse, and maybe Camacho can get this horse to get brave and be able to score at 15-1 on the lead. So that was the 3rd horse in. That was my next up. My deep tickets was the 1 and the 3. You kind of talk through it. The 1's effort last time out was actually sneaky good. He bumped, lost irons at the start. As long as Vasquez can keep his feet in there, and look, he was also a $1.50 favorite in that spot, and we're going back up in class. There's enough there that they're showing confidence in Light Fury that I think it's worth giving another chance against a bunch of horses that really are just not that impressive. I would not talk someone off the all button here if you wanted to. That would be the one thing that I would say. I'm going to end up using 5 here of the 9, and so I'm actually over my limit of what I normally would like to use. The horse I'm scared to leave off is the 8 horse. I'm guessing Avant Grande. Are you going to use Avant Grande?
Avant Garde, yeah.
Yeah. Avant Garde. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because that's the one horse I'm concerned leaving off here, but I can't go 6 out of 9 deep, and it's a $50 ticket already. So if you want to shorten up in the 5th or the 2nd leg and hit the all button last, I definitely wouldn't tell you that was a bad idea. Like, you're going 6 deep here, and for a third more, you can hit the all button. So to me, that's kind of almost where you have to go that direction.
I for a brief second, I tried building a ticket where I singled both of the stakes races and just hit the all button or try to go as deep as possible in those. If you have a strong opinion in one or both of those short legs, the stakes races, I know, Mike, you're singling in both of them in the $5 ticket, and we're both singling, or I'm singling the 6 in my 50-cent ticket in the first leg. So if you wanted to, you could. We'll talk about Avant Garde real quick. First of all, I think this is the best bred horse in this entire field. I know there's that $900,000.
Curlingo would disagree. I guess, no. Eclipse Thoroughbreds would disagree.
Yeah, well, I think that that was not a smart move on their part. This is a Son of Tonalist out of an Affleet Alex mare, so plenty of potential. ran really well at Gulfstream Park, first time on dirt, last time out. So Vasquez, hey, look at that. Horse got bumped, and Vasquez actually kept his feet in the iron. So we know it's possible. Let's see if he can make it happen on the one. You get in the bump. They claim him for 10,000. They send him all the way back up to 25. You're telling me that either at Gulfstream or at Tampa, you couldn't have found a cheaper spot unless you thought this horse had a lot of potential. So
yeah,
I don't. Go ahead.
It's definitely possible, but the fractions of that race scared the crap out of me. That's why I didn't use the horse. They did like the 24-3, then 47-1, and they like 114-4, and they came home 138-1. I mean, I would.
I definitely stumble bunnied.
I have not watched that race, but stumble bunny is probably the correct term to be used in this spot. It's amazing. I would actually kind of want to watch the race now because this horse was second, 5 lengths back, and lost by a length in the quarter, which meant everyone had already backed up before the turn even happened, and this horse was just kind of falling all over itself on the way home. But that to me was the big issue. But I like I said, I mean, this is a wide open race. I wouldn't talk you off any horse in this spot.
All right, that's going to wrap things up. We'll go ahead and give out our tickets. And if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, guess what? You got our tickets scrolling at the bottom like we're Sports Center. I'll go ahead and start. My 50-cent ticket, I am singling the 6, then going 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 11, then 2, 5, 6, then 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9. That's a $54 ticket. I'm digging deeper into my pockets than Mr. Summich.
Pants are heavy over there.
Go ahead, give us your. Well, it's because I had 55 when she won that stakes race by a country mile.
Oh yeah, you mean the head bob with the 1-2 shot? Nice.
And I'm doubling down on Cezanne here.
Oh, 1-9. I haven't even looked. There's got to be bridge jumpers, right? We'll cover that in a second. All right. So yeah, my 50-cent ticket.
It's win bet only.
Oh really? Come on, Losal. No guts.
If Losal is saying no show betting, there's a good reason for it.
There's a place bet. $47,984 of a $54,000 place pool are on the 5 horses on here.
I swear it was win, and it just flashed right when you said that. I don't know. Did they just suddenly allow place betting?
If they did, someone dropped a big number on that 5 real quick. All right,
anyways, your tickets.
Yeah, 50 cents. I'm going to go 2-6 with 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 with 2, 6 with 1, 2, 3, 5, 9 for 50 cents. That is $50. And then I'm going to play a nice little short popper for $5. Go 6 with 5, 7 with 2 with 2, 9. That'll cost you $20 for $5, and hopefully come home and pay pretty nice.
So we've got Cezanne coming up here in just about a minute. You also have Uncle Chuck leading the Los Al Derby on Saturday. Boy, I know Baffert wouldn't have done it. I don't know why, but boy, it would have been great to see Cezanne and Uncle Chuck square off in the Los Al Derby. We've got a preview for the Los Al Derby available over at racenews.com. And while you're there, go to the handicap and products page. Check out the Inside Track wagering guide to the Met Mile. That is this weekend. We also have, along with the Met Mile, the Poker Stakes, the Suburban Stakes, the Victory Ride Stakes, the Manhattan Stakes. Lots of stakes actually going over there. So we have you covered with really in-depth analysis of all those stakes races and race-by-race analysis from Aaron Halterman, including all of the recommended tickets and bets throughout the day. So go to racenews.com, click on the handicapping products page. Mike, any closing thoughts for the folks? Are you doing bombs at Belmont?
Yeah, we got bombs at Belmont Friday, Saturday. Sunday is undecided. I want to look at the cards and just kind of see how the weekend goes. Sometimes I like taking on a new track on Sunday every now and then. Man, I got to say, someone asked me if I was excited about to see Cezanne run here. I'm kind of this makes me be against this horse long term. The fact that they're not going to a stakes race right out of it, and the fact that we're going 2 turns here at Los Al versus waiting for the first opening weekend at Del Mar, or finding a more expensive spot, to me just says maybe this horse isn't quite the bee's knees. I think that Uncle Chuck definitely has now been stamped as the top Baffert horse left. I'm sure some people who bought into Authentic probably aren't too happy to hear about that, but I would say we've definitely stamped Uncle Chuck as the top Baffert 3-year-old we've got going now. And then it's going to be interesting to see where Cezanne goes after this, because you'd assume she's going to romp here, or he's going to romp here. But this is not, to me, a vote of confidence in putting this race.
Also, here's the thing about that. It took Baffert said that they tried to fill this race 3 times and they couldn't. Like he after like 3 tries, the 4th time they get it. He didn't go, okay, we'll just put you in the Los Al Derby. He said, no, we're going to keep pushing you against Allowance Company. And like, I had the same thought process you did. Like, why are we pushing this? So why are you not? I mean, if you just want to build some confidence in him or make sure he can handle 2 turns, But yeah, I mean, $3.65 million isn't just. I guess it just doesn't quite buy you what it used to, the confidence that it used to.
Yeah, just ask Eclipse Thoroughbreds what 900 grand gets you. The fact that it's Los Al too, to me, is just I've always not been a big thoroughbred at Los Al guy because it like I've said, it plays more like a turf course. It's almost like a synthetic style track. You see a lot of turf sires take steps forward. So there's a couple concerns there for me too, but I don't love the confidence factor. And Baffert has run a lot of his top horses at Los Alamitos, so you definitely, you don't say because Baffert's at Los Alamitos you're taking a step back, but just the decision to place the horse here, and this is not your traditional 2-turn track. I mean, as we're watching it, you're seeing the night oval turn right there at 4.5 furlongs. I mean, it's just a more unique setup, and so for me, it's just not somewhere that I'm going to take a big swing at. I'd much rather see this horse show up first weekend in Del Mar, show up in a stakes race. If I thought that this horse, like for instance, if I'm going to future bet, I'm definitely leaving this horse off my Derby tickets and any type of future bets because of where this horse is being spotted.
And exacted with Cezanne over Braun, who's his Bob Baffert stablemate, is paying $2.
It's got to be 220, right? Is that the minimum? 240? No, 240 is the minimum exacta, right?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't actually know that one.
No super betting. Okay, who's going to run third? Ruben for third. Mongolian.
Sure.
Ruben.
Why not? Yeah.
Let's play a little try.
Well,
5,
we'll cut
4,
it off for the podcast. We'll say thank you for listening, and make sure that you turn on the notifications whenever the Racing Dudes account goes live, whether it's on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, so that you get notified when Mike and I do this every Monday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. We're going to cut out now and go watch Cezanne and see what happens. Until then, this has been another episode of the Magic Mike Show. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Magic.
And I'm Mike.
We'll see you next time. All right, so if you guys are still watching, the 8 of you that are still watching, thanks. We're gonna watch Cezanne here real quick. I'm watching it. Are you watching the track feed?
I am watching the TVG feed.
Oh, okay.
The 3-horse just went in.
Okay. I've got Cezanne going in, right? No, wait, that's Braun. I'm sorry. The 4-horse.
Yeah, Braun just walked in.
Yep. Okay. So we're probably about the same.
Now they cut to the side angle. So what is Cezanne going to go? Just a wire-to-wire score? I haven't even looked at the race.
I think that's what they'll try and do with him. Good break. Oh, that's right. It's Michael Rona. I always get excited.
He got out clean. Going to stalk the 4. Now this makes you wonder if Baffert just put the 4 in to be the horse that stalks.
I figured the 4 was in there just to make sure the damn race filled.
I'm sure that was part of it too. I mean, if the 5 wants to run off the board, that'd be fine.
God, even if he finishes 3rd.
I mean, obviously, we're so early into the race. Anyone who's not watching, I mean, Braun's got the lead heading into the backstretch, and Cezanne sitting in a close up 3rd, about a length and a half. That's an interesting. Like, this is that Los Al corner, man. The 1 horse is now diving to the inside of the 4. Cezanne is sitting about in the 4 path, going down the lane. Cezanne does not look comfortable, though.
No,
I mean, he's now. I keep thinking it's a female name. He's now 3 off the lead, and Braun is looking pretty decent up front. Now you'd expect this is where we hit the go button.
He's gonna need to.
Huh?
All right. He's responding, but not what you'd expect from a.
That's more of a $500,000 horse.
There he goes. All right, he's got the lead now. He's gonna win, but.
So you're ahead of me.
Okay.
He just took the lead heading into the turn, or heading into the stretch. Braun's sitting in a nice second. Ruben, don't you pass Braun. You stay in 3rd.
He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. Get up there, Ruben.
No,
come on,
Ruben.
Get up there for a second, Ruben.
Run 3rd, Ruben.
Make that a $4 exacta.
No, I played the try straight.
Oh shit! Sorry.
Oh well. What can you do?
Well,
Ruben almost caught him. I mean, he's not really asking Cezanne, but
no, but that was a good run from Ruben's horse. Really,
it was not close. Not overly impressed with that one.
So, yeah, I think this kind of, just to put a little tidy bow on it, this kind of goes back to what you and I were saying, that I think Uncle Chuck might be the better of the 2 in the stable. That because if you think about how Uncle Chuck broke his maiden, going 2 turns at Santa Anita, which isn't quite the setup that Los Al has, Uncle Chuck's was a lot more impressive. I mean, Flavien had to get after him a little bit there.
Yeah, and when Uncle Chuck had so much in the tank, you also have a 30-1 shot chasing him down here, the longest shot on the board. It's just, there's enough here that there's not overly impressed. Now, I'm sure he's going to go to a stakes race next time and probably be the favorite. But this is one of those Bafferts where I'm probably going to take a shot against or defensively use next time he goes out.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll pull up real quick. Aaron Halterman sent me yesterday his predictions for the Bob Baffert horses. He thinks that Cezanne is going to go to the Traverse. This is what he said this yesterday, by the way. Cezanne to the Traverse off this. Uncle Chuck to the Bluegrass and the Ellis Park Derby. And we got 1,000 Words in the Azul Coast and the Low Sal Derby. No, that didn't happen. Uncle Chuck's going to the Low Sal Derby. Azul Coast, I don't know what the hell's going to happen with him.
I think Uncle Chuck's going to Travers.
Yeah.
I think
you sent Cezanne to an Ellis Park or something like that.
I mean, I think Cezanne is going to, yeah. I mean, I just, Uncle Chuck, I think, is his best horse. I think he wants a Travers. Although the mile and a quarter is still tough inside a month. I mean, that Travers is going to be loaded based if Tiz the Law shows up, it's going to be a tough race to get your 100 points in. So I think that's one of the reasons why you have Uncle Chuck in the Low Sal Derby. If he wins the Low Sal Derby, he starts to get some Derby points going, and then he doesn't have to win the Travers to be able to get in the gate, or win or place in the Travers to get in the gate. So, yeah, I think that Uncle Chuck is the one that he's going to ship out all the way to New York.
I don't know if you saw that Tiz the Law is getting hard to handle in the mornings because he doesn't like these gaps between his races. Barclay Tagg had to pony him to the 5/8 pole for his last work.
Wow.
and he still did it in 50 seconds.
He's good, man.
He's good. All right. Thank you, everybody. The 11 of you, 10 of you. Well, wow, it just dropped. I said thank you, and it went from 11 to 9. Thanks, everybody who's been watching. We'll be back on Monday, same time, same place. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.